This is the Allon Exchange with financial advisors Jay and Brittany Hagee. I'm your host, Spike Spangle, and every single week we like to help you with retirement planning solutions. All right, Jay, Brittany, what's on your mind this week?
Ooh, what we're talking about today is rumors of retirement. We're gonna bust some of those rumors today.
Oh, fantastic. Myth busting of retirement. I love it. Let's get rid of some of those rumors. So we'll jump into it as soon as we possibly can. Always just want to let you know that you'll be able to reach out to us. You can schedule an appointment with Jay and Brittany themselves. We've got a complimentary book when you schedule an appointment. So many different things that we're going to do for you. And it starts by calling the phone number down on the bottom of the screen or using that QR code. And we'll tell you more exactly how you can do that today. All right, let's start out with one of the first rumors. So I scoured through the internet. We all did this together. We shared some of these things back and forth. And one of the first things that I saw in one of these chat rooms was people saying, well, they don't think they're going to need as much money in retirement as during their working years. So maybe this number that we've been saving for is too big. Agree or disagree? Let me start with you, Jay.
Very much disagree with that, Spike, because, you know, as I tell folks that are nearing retirement all the time, do you expect to downgrade your lifestyle in retirement? We don't see people who want to downgrade their lifestyle in retirement. That's number one, is we usually run our income planning from 100% of whatever they're making today to make sure that you can continue living the lifestyle that you're accustomed to right now when you get into retirement. And so that's number one problem. The second problem is called inflation, because especially since 2020, we've dealt with high inflation. So from 2020 to 2024, we've seen 25% increase just in food and energy alone. That is a huge amount of inflation. So as you go along in retirement, you shouldn't be planning for less. You should actually be planning for more. One, because your lifestyle is going to need maintained. And two, things are going to get more expensive as we go forward.
Well, and you got to think too, I know this is something that's not really a hot topic. Folks don't like to talk about this, but if something happens to one of us, if we're a married couple and we're in retirement and something happens to one of us, a couple things happen. One is the lesser of our two Social Security checks goes away if we're both getting a Social Security check. The other is we have right around a year mark to change our filing status when it comes to taxes. And when you change your filing status from married filing jointly to filing single, it changes a lot of things. It lowers your standard deduction and it changes your tax rate. So you're paying a higher tax rate. So you're paying a higher tax rate on less dollars you're actually keeping. So even things like that many folks don't take into consideration when you're looking at money and spending and lifestyle in retirement. You may have the same bills or same expenses, but if something happens to one or the other, if you are married, that's going to change the game quite a bit.
And you might even think, well, I'm not going to need to purchase as much food. But from all the things you just said, when we lose a partner in retirement, we lose that Social Security, the tax filing status. Okay, sure, maybe we're not buying as many meals, but maybe we're getting more delivered to the house. Maybe we need more lawn care and home care and cleaning care.
More support in other areas.
So more support that we're actually taking some of that money for. So even though that spouse passes away.
Don't ever go into retirement planning to just not spend money. Because every day's a Saturday, hopefully in retirement, you're wanting to not be worried and constrained so much that you can't enjoy what you've spent your whole life working for. So have a great income plan when it comes to your retirement planning to where you're not constrained so much of every dollar that you spend that you can't enjoy your lifestyle.
And let me give you an example. We had someone come into our office recently and they were putting together what it was going to look like in their retirement days and talking about what they should be planning for in retirement as far as dollars and spending. And they said, we're looking at probably 80% of what we spend now. And we're like, okay, stop right there. Like, let's plan for 100% of what you are spending now. And then we can adjust later as needed. Maybe you do downsize your home and your expenses are less. Or maybe you do decide to travel less or to do less with the grandkids. We can always bring that down. What's really hard is to increase that level of spending, especially when you have fixed income established.
Well, let's also talk about that when we talk about real estate. We know how high inflation has held. The number itself supposedly has come down, but the pricing of things has not come down. But the other thing is, you said downsizing the house, lowering our costs. Okay, maybe we don't have as much yard to cut. Maybe we don't have to clean as many rooms of the house, but are homes really that less expensive than where they were 10 or
Not
20
where
years
we
ago?
live.
They're well more expensive than they were
Yeah,
10 or 15
that's
years
right.
ago, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going to have more expense when it comes to your home. Even property taxes have become, so even if you pay the house off, your property taxes are probably well more than what they were 10 years
Right,
ago,
right.
right? Just because of home inflation prices. So you always want to create an income plan that is going to give you peace of mind through retirement, not a fear and a struggle through retirement. And that's where we come in to help create a significant income plan so that you know what you can live on in retirement.
And this is something that you do every single day in the offices. You're not guessing at it. As financial advisors, you help people figure it out.
Yeah.
So how hard is it though, from family to family to family, to figure out their individual spends? I mean, you can't throw together a cookie cutter approach and
That's
say,
right.
well, we're at $5,000 or $6,000 a month. How do you
Well, it's
figure
very
out the spend?
individualistic, just like you said. And so you would be surprised about how many people we meet with, and there's no guilt and no shame here if this is you. But they come into our offices and they have no idea what they spend every month. They literally have no idea. And it's okay. So I take a really easy approach for every family. I tell them, hey, go back for me the last 6 to 12 months, whether you are utilizing a debit card, a credit card, a checkbook, however you're paying for all of your bills, and let's average that out over the last 6 to 12 months. And let's see exactly what you are spending. A lot of people are surprised at actually
Right.
what they're spending, because they think they'll come in and say, oh, well, you know, we can spend $3,000 a month in retirement and get by. Well, they're spending $6,500
Right,
now,
right.
and they think they can cut their expenses in half by 3 years of retirement. It's just not realistic. And so we help folks come to that true number of what they're spending now, and then grow that with inflation to create a spending plan.
That's right. So if you miss that, that's a very important point. You have to know where you're beginning from. What are you actually spending? And then you build out from there, because what you just said is exactly right. People say, man, I this is what I'm spending. I'm spending $3,000. That's all I need. But then when you really line it up and look at the hard numbers, that's not what's really happening.
Well, we're going to go out to break here, and during this break, I'm going to ask Jay and Brittany if they both know what each other spends. But before we do that, you have
Fortunately, we
something
do.
in front of you, Brittany, that we've been very excited about. You can get this when you call and make an appointment. What do you have?
That's right. This is just another resource that we've provided. It's the Allon approach, and it talks about purpose-based planning, and it lays out all the components of a comprehensive financial plan. And it's a resource that we have provided for everyone we work with. It's something that we want to give to offer continuing education and a resource to kind of help you along your journey as you do plan your financial future.
We've been doing shows here for a couple of years in the area, but maybe this is one of the first times that you're joining us. Here's what we want to let you know. You can call the phone number down on the bottom of the screen, schedule an appointment, and sit down with Jay and Brittany and figure out your income spend in retirement. There is no cost, there is no obligation, and just for coming in and making an appointment, you'll get a complimentary copy of their brand new book, The Allon Approach. More of those retirement rumors that we hear about, and find out if the numbers are true for your retirement when we get back right after this.
Well, about almost 10 years ago now, Brittany and I came to the realization that the position that we were in, we wanted to expand what we were doing. We were in full-time ministry. And so I realized as I was counseling people a lot, it had a lot to do with finance.
Because finances are a touchy subject. It can be challenging, and that's what we want to do, help people prepare for those unexpecteds.
I had a friend at the time who was in the industry and ran an RIA and decided to, take a sneak peek into what he was doing, and really, loved the model of being able to be independent and fiduciary in our advice and the way that we help people.
And when we decided to begin our own independent firm, we knew there's a better way. There's just a better way to do this. It's beyond transactional interaction. It's this relational component that we knew we want to have. And I believe that each individual and family has to find the right fit for them.
And I think most people that walk in here are looking for that unique touch, like independently, how can we help your family succeed?
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with financial advisors Jay and Brittany Hagee. They are the founder of Allon Planning Partners. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. We're talking about retirement rumors, kind of that hearsay that we hear about retirement. And I want to know if some of these things are true. We just talked about not needing to spend as much in retirement as during our working years. We found that to be false for both of you.
Right.
Let me ask you about this one. I have Medicare. I've read this one online as well.
Okay.
I've got Medicare, so I probably don't have to worry about things like long-term care needs. True or false?
Well, there again, I hate to burst that bubble, but it's false. Because the deal is Medicare only pays for a certain amount of things, right? You're limited to the assets that you can own before Medicaid will actually step in and help above and beyond that. So the real question is, do I have my long-term care covered? And so you have really one of three different ways that we talk to clients about long-term care coverage. One, you either have the assets where you self-cover and you say, I've got multiple millions of dollars and I can pay for this myself and it doesn't matter if I need to use all of it for my medical care. That's one stance. Then you can have long-term care insurance, the traditional type, which is a little bit more restrictive, which actually pays for, if you've been in the nursing home for 90 days and it's qualified expense, they'll pay for a certain portion or maybe even all of it, depending on how much insurance that you have. And that long-term care insurance is usually pretty expensive, right? And it's a use it or lose it kind of deal. So it's like car insurance. We all have to have it, but if we need it, great, we have a coverage. But if we don't need it, then all the premiums we've paid goes to the insurance company. That's the same as the long-term care traditional approach. The third option is actually a life insurance policy that has a rider on it that would cover and advance you a death benefit in case you needed it for long-term care. And we find this to be a lot more advantageous for our healthier, a little bit younger clients, maybe even in their 60s or early 70s even, that they could take advantage of. I don't have long-term care. I don't want to put my money and my assets at risk if I need to have long-term care. But I don't want to just pay premiums that go out the window that I'm never going to see again. So this is really a hybrid program that would allow you to say, let's get $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 worth of coverage. And if I need it for long-term care, it'll be pre-advanced to me. And if I do not need it, then my spouse or my heirs or whoever could get a tax-free benefit in life insurance. And so a lot of people don't know that that's even available to them. And so we go through all the coverages of long-term care, but Medicare will not pay for everything. And people would be very mistaken if they think they're going to protect their assets because of Medicare.
Yeah, the point is there are options. There are so many more options available than folks realize. And when we're talking about these retirement rumors, I'm beginning to see kind of a pattern that these rumors are based on assumptions. I assume I'll be spending this much. I assume I'll need less in retirement. I assume Medicare will cover my health expenses, right? There's a pattern here. Let's identify that pattern. Don't make assumptions. Actually, let's do the work. We can help. You don't even have to do that alone, but you can actually plan and know. Not assume, but actually know what's going to work, how it's going to work, if it's going to work, when it's going to pay out, all of that, right?
And you know what all of our grandmothers have said about when you assume, you make a... Oh, wait, I don't think I can finish.
TV Spike.
I don't think I can finish that here on Saturday and Sunday TV. But here's the thing. We always know, end of the year, we're just inundated with all of those Medicare enrollment commercials. That's the thing. There's a lot of information, and we're making assumptions, but it's also a lot of confusion out there. Do you mind helping people walk through the minefield of Medicare?
Well, actually, I read this week that every year, 100,000 people, I'm sorry, not every year, every day, 100,000 people are turning 65 and having to make this kind of decision about their health care. So that's why we have a Medicare specialist on our team who focuses just on Medicare, who knows all the ins and outs, who knows all the supplement plans, who knows all the details of it to be able to help folks navigate through. Here's your options. Don't just assume I'm going to have everything covered with this, but here's the actual options and making informed decisions from there.
Absolutely. And we have a specialist on staff just to focus on Medicare, so you don't have to worry about being sold a product. You're going to be educated.
Right.
And we want to give you all of your options on the table because you need to know 3 months before I turn 65, I can start signing up for Medicare and what are my options. We make that available for anyone that we work with.
When you go to your bank representative, do they help you with Medicare? When you go to your 401k provider, do they help you with Medicare? No, because you're leaving the workplace. You don't get that kind of help unless you call one of those 800 numbers. And I would always at least like for people to get a second opinion from somebody who does this all the time.
Well, at that point, you're being sold a product a lot of times when you're just calling an 800 number you don't know. There again, don't just look for a product, look for a solution. And so you want to have multiple streams that you're educated by, that's fine, but we are going to offer you the education that you need to make a solution choice.
But that's exactly why we do what we do, Spike. The reason that Jay and I got into this industry and began comprehensive financial planning as fiduciary advisors was for that reason right there. That so many people don't have someone to go to.
Don't know where to go.
And it's like grabbing from here and there. I need information about this from that. And the problem is when that happens, none of the components of a plan actually work together. A lot of times we found that they work against one another,
right.
And then it's not cohesive, and it causes it to not even function as it was intended to function by all the different parts and players in the game, right? So we chose to do this so that we could really quarterback that team. Hey, we know it takes a network of professionals to pull this off, a network of specialists. Let's quarterback that team and help folks have a centralized location from which to begin their planning, to have all the pieces put in place.
All right, well, so that begs the question for me, what exactly is the Allon plan? When we talk about coming in, doing an appointment, I mean, we're sitting here, we just talked 10 minutes on Medicare, but that's not simply what you do. I mean, you're about
that's a very small piece, but there's large pieces to be combined, right? We're going to talk about investments and investment planning. How are you allocated? How are your funds working for you? Are they right for where you're at right now, either near or in retirement? We're going to talk about income plans because you need to make sure that you know how to get to your investments in case when you need them, so that you don't have to worry about running out of money in retirement. We're going to talk about taxes because if you don't have a tax plan, Uncle Sam has a tax plan for you, I promise you, and that's to get as much as you can. We want to save you on your tax planning. You have an estate plan, which are things like wills, trusts, power of attorneys to make sure you have the documents that you need, and then a healthcare plan, what we talked about with Medicare, and even before that and beyond that. So we want to make sure all 5 of these dominoes are lined up correctly so that one's not knocking over the other one in retirement. So we want to just position everyone that comes in to have a comprehensive plan that looks at way more than just an investment or way more than just a healthcare plan, but it includes all 5 of those assets together.
And before your eyes roll back into your head at those many lists of things, it is a lot. But that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you walk that out and to figure it out. You don't have to go it alone because so many people are, just like you listening today, so many people are in the same boat you're in, trying to navigate through uncharted waters. How do I figure this out? Where are these solutions? That's what we find joy in doing. Creating creative solutions, coming up with creative solutions to help you get to where you want to be.
And that's why this show today is so important. We're talking about some of the retirement rumors or hearsay or things that you just might assume about retirement. Don't assume. Sit down with 2 financial planners who do this every single day in their offices. And there's all different kinds of advisors. There's advisors who help you accumulate your assets, and then there's advisors who help you plan through your retirement years so you can't run out of income, so your medical costs don't draw down on your retirement savings. And it's really, really simple. All you've got to do is call the phone number right down here on the bottom of the screen. There's no cost, there's no obligation. Come on in. Meet with Jay and Brittany and their entire team, or if you want to, you can open up your phone, because I know most of you, if you're watching TV, you got your phone there too. Open it up to the camera function, point it at that QR code, click on that. You can schedule your appointment right there. More with Jay and Brittany, financial advisors and the owners of Allon Planning Partners when we get back right after this.
You have to have a plan. You know, from what I found, we call it the sleep well at night plan, the SWAN plan.
Yeah, a comprehensive plan is extremely important for individuals, families, couples, anyone who is working with their finances. You've got to have more than just an investment.
If we have a plan and know that we can follow step by step a plan that's going to get us to our ultimate goal, we can have trust in that plan to anchor us in those tumultuous times.
And so we're able to really show them, hey, there's all these other things that really come into play.
So it's real important for us to really create those unique plans for people. And it's not just like, well, my neighbor's doing this, so I'm okay.
You got to think about your taxes. You got to think about your health care. You know, you got to think about a number of things that really impact the whole of your financial situation, especially for couples. And we talk about this a lot, that at minimum, both spouses should at least be informed.
Ultimately,
we want everyone to not just, be wandering through life and hope that they make it to the goals that they have. We want to put a written step-by-step plan together so that you actually know how to get to those financial goals. Because if you don't have a plan in place to get you through some of those times and you don't have financial security, that's something else that is added to that stress level that can push you overboard.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee, financial advisors and the founders of Allon Planning Partners. We're discussing today at the desk some of the rumors that we hear about retirement. And another one that I read was that, look, I don't need a trust. A trust is for the super wealthy. I've got a will. My family knows what I want to do. I should be fine. True or false? Brittany, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm not an estate law attorney, so I'm not going to give legal advice here. Yes, neither one of us are, so we're not doing that. But what I do want to do is bring some light on an issue that many people don't consider. So yes, you may think, well, I don't have X amount of dollars, that's why I would need those documents. An estate law attorney will tell you the benefits and what actually would work for your situation. But a lot of times folks don't think about some documents that you need actually while you're still living. When we're talking about legal documents here, estate planning, this is a part of that. Legal documents like power of attorney for financial or power of attorney for healthcare, where you name who you want to be in charge of making some of those decisions regarding your finances or regarding your healthcare if you can't make them for yourself while you're still living. I helped a family navigate through this just, 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were talking through this and they were like, man, I never realized that if we're married and if something were to happen to my spouse and I needed to get into his IRA, I couldn't do it. Just because you're listed as a beneficiary.
I was going to say, even though you're the beneficiary, doesn't give you access to
Not when
funds.
he's still living.
That's right.
Yeah, because he's still living.
That's
if
right.
he had passed away, it'd be different. But with him still living, and maybe he's in a coma, or God forbid something like that were to happen,
She would not have access
I
to
needed
my
to get
funds.
into his IRA or his 401k, I couldn't do that. The custodian would turn me away and say, I'm sorry, your name's not on the account.
Right.
You don't have a power of attorney. But if you have that power of attorney document, you will be able to access those accounts.
Because, if there were emergency extenuating circumstances, they call it, you can sometimes have access to those retirement accounts. And if that's where one of the largest chunks of savings is, you can't break into that. You can't get into there.
If she does not have power of attorney.
Put you in a tough spot.
Yeah, and so documents like that are very important to have. Also, not being an estate attorney, but understanding that trusts are not just for the super wealthy. Listen, Brittany and I have a trust. The reason we have a trust, we have minor children. If something happens to us, we want the trust documents, which go into greater detail than a will does, to bypass some of the probate process to get us and our children what they deserve, right? And so you do not have to be super wealthy to utilize the trust. I have people that just own maybe a rental property or two, right? And they don't want those rental properties to go through the probate process.
Right.
They put them in a trust so that they are beneficiary designated now, and the deed is beneficiary designated within that trust document. There are many reasons you can use a trust outside of just the typical man. You must have to be super wealthy in order to use one of those. It's a lot of protection in there. There again, not being an estate attorney, but what we do know and give people advice on is we quarterback the team. We've got 3 different estate attorneys that we help folks meet with, that we will walk through your situation along with the estate attorney and give you appropriate advice on what documents you do need.
There are other things that I've heard people say. I mean, just in talking with folks like yourselves, financial advisors say, oh my gosh, somebody put one of their kids on the house or on one of their investment accounts. Say, oh, we'll hop around this. I don't need to get those expensive documents or spend time with an attorney. We'll figure it out. You can make a lot of mistakes by placing kids onto your accounts and your investments.
Sure, absolutely.
Or just, again, assuming my kids know what I want, my spouse knows what I want. If it's not written down, if you're incapacitated or no longer with us, if it is not written down, there is a high probability that will not occur. So it just brings more strength and stability to the legacy piece of your financial planning. What happens to everything when you do get to that point?
And specifically with what you said, it creates tax liability too. A lot of times, if I put children on the deed to my house now versus them inheriting it, it's going to create tax burden for them that they would not have had on an inheritance. So just sticking someone's name on something will have various implications rather than just the legal, how they get the property or how they get the asset.
There's the
but
taxation
of it matters as well.
And there's the possibility of terrible things that can happen while we're.
That's
if
right.
the kids are sued
You're being
in some
sued,
sort of way,
correct.
and they're on your investment accounts of your house, now that's also part of their property. So it just opens up a whole can of worms. Now again, even though you could look like attorneys, you're very fancy, but you're not attorneys. How do you quarterback this whole situation? Do you have people who you work with, or people
Absolutely.
you suggest, or you say this isn't what we do?
So while we're walking through individual plans, we're going to gather data on each and every client that walks in the door, and we're going to know here's the assets that they hold. We're going to walk through your spending plan and what that looks like, your assets, and we're going to make a determination, because we do have a handful of estate attorneys that we trust that really specialize in different areas. Some maybe specialize in just a general will or a power of attorney, and that may be all you need. Or some specialize in trust planning, and we will look at the assets you have and help you quarterback. Here's who you should talk to based on your plan with the needs you have, and give you education on all of it so that you can make an informed decision. So we help you put everything down on paper so that we know how to connect you with the appropriate attorney to get you the right documents.
And another reason this is also important, because you could do everything right. To build, to accumulate, to prepare for maybe the future of your grandkids. We've got some clients who want to take care of their grandkids' education, and so they've set funds aside for that. You could do everything right in line with the purposes that you have, but not have a proper legal documents to ensure that's enforced or actually occurs, and it not happen. And you've done everything right to that point to make it happen, but you're missing this one little piece that can make all the difference when you're talking legacy. That's another reason that these types of things really matter when you're looking at the big picture.
Yeah,
of a
and so
plan.
while we do this, a lot of financial firms and financial planners out there will not deal with anything except your investment advice. We think that's a fallacy. We think that if you're only looking at the investment, you miss a lot of the pieces of the puzzle. You miss the other 4/5 of the pie
incomplete.
that is
Right.
going to end up hurting you eventually, just because you're only solely focused on one piece. Be comprehensive, be holistic. That's what we want to offer.
All right, so
advice.
in almost 2 years of television together, let's see how much I've learned. Because you're saying 5 different elements. So we were just talking about estate planning, taxes, of course the investments, health care, and would Social Security count as its own separate?
Income.
Social Security kind of
plan.
falls
Social
underneath
Security's
income.
under
That's
income.
right.
So that's what the Allon approach is. All of the different
is correct.
elements pulled together for one
That's
complete
it.
strategy. Brittany, maybe you could just hold up the book for me. I'll tell everybody what it is. The Allon approach. Folks, when you call in that phone number, you'll get a complimentary copy of the book, and you'll get your complete approach. All of the 5 different elements that include your investments, taxes, estate planning, how to take care of your health care. What's most important on your mind when it comes to dollars and cents in retirement? You don't have to figure it out by yourself. Call Jay and Brittany Hagee, financial advisors and the founder of Allon Planning Partners. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week.